welcome again to Tinderbox Play Away. So, for tonight's event, we're here with Gabriel Elvery to talk about parasocial interactions and have a let's play of a game called Speed Dating with Ghosts. Gabe is an LKAS PhD funded researcher at the University of Glasgow and vice editor of Press Start Journal. Gabe is researching the effects of fantasy in single-player narrative-driven video games. Their project will explore whether its effective use facilitates effective engagement with digital fantasy worlds, and whether this digital effect has the potential to impact the emotional well-being of players in their off-screen lives. Gabe's research will develop a new kind of reader reception theory by investigating whether literary analysis of video games has practical applications and corresponds with the experiences of players. The end result will make available a fuller understanding of the affordances, implications and impact of the digital fantastic. So lots of very exciting words and terminology there. Without further ado, Gabe, I'll hand over to you to get us started.
Goodness, thank you for having me, Lucy, and thank you for that lovely introduction. I'm just going to do the fun Zoom thing and be like, can you see my screen? Let me just pop the chat up as well. Wonderful, thank you. I'm glad that's working. So let's get started. Oh, let me move, there we go, sorted. Did you ever cry when your Tamagotchi died? Rushed out of a meeting with your boss only to find yourself meeting with your virtual boss that happens to be a talking raccoon on an imaginary island? Have you ever bonded with a Neopet? Agonized over which witch to date? Or refused to unbuddy with a certain Pokemon after you've leveled them because you just enjoy their company so much and they're cute? Or perhaps you're perplexed about why people get so invested in these make-believe things. Well, if so, this event's for you. Welcome to my talk on Beyond Parasocial Interaction, How We Feel Things for Fictional People, or my alternative title, You Can't Cry Over Someone Who's Not Real. I can, I have, and I will do it again. So, I'm a game studies researcher focusing on the fantastic in video games. I don't make video games, I analyze them in a similar way to how we would analyze a book or a movie. I'm really interested in understanding digital fantasy worlds we're immersed in, their impact on us, and what playing games can tell us about ourselves and each other. Like any piece of literature or art, games are fun, but they're also telling us really interesting things. I feel it's important to update media literacy and consider the new technologies we're using so that we can enjoy them, yes, but also be critical of them in a constructive manner. This kind of research can also help explain to people less interested in games why they're becoming extremely important. My focus is mainly on the emotional impact of fantasy video games on their players and exploring why we can catch real feelings for imaginary things and people. I'm going to give a brief presentation, after which we'll play a game together and make all the decisions. So please do join in the chat and tell me what you'd like to do. Also, feel free to share the talk, leave comments and questions and tweet me. I really love hearing from everyone, and thanks again for coming. So, feeling things for fictional people is nothing new. Since the birth of storytelling, humankind has always been invested in the stories of others and perhaps developed feelings for people we don't know by way of hearing about them. What was once confined to communal storytelling around a campfire or locked within the pages of a book has evolved into the digital realm. I'm here to explain about why we care for fictional people in the first place and explore why video games may provide a more intense relationship with their characters. These relationships with fictional characters are often referred to by media researchers as parasocial relationships. So first of all, what does parasocial mean and why does it matter? Parasocial interaction is a term that was coined by researchers Horton and Wall, who identified particular types of television programs that seem to create something like an intimate relationship with their audience members, and that viewers responded to these television personalities and characters as if they were their friends or loved ones. Have you ever yelled instructions at your football team or told a scream queen, "Don't go down there," even though they can't hear you? Well, then you have participated in parasocial interaction. That's when the viewer responds to the characters if they were real, but it's one-sided. They can't talk back and they are gonna go into that wrong place and get killed, quite likely, which is a shame. Anyway, Horton and Wall identify and describe the similarities between how people form relationships with people off screen and how these social impulses emerge in the way that we consume media. They outline techniques used by program makers which encourage viewers to invest in their characters and feel for them. The more viewers feel for their characters, the more likely they're to watch the show again or talk about it with other people. When I speak of a character, I'm talking about obviously fictional characters in TV shows, but also about the persona of a TV host or a radio personality that might be presented as an authentic self, but more about that later. So there are some techniques which encourage parasocial interaction, and they are just speaking directly to the viewer like I am now, being casual and conversational, blurring the line between the character or the viewer. So maybe in a kind of like a talk show, the presenter will go and sit with the audience and chill out with them, or take calls or interact with them on social media, that kind of thing. The viewer or audience, yes, so they might take part, so it can even feel like a real conversation. But obviously this won't work on everyone. So some people might like certain characters or shows, others might watch shows more casually, or some people might just not get that invested in media. However, some people might become fans of shows and become as invested in fictional characters as they are with people in their off-screen lives, maybe even more so. When viewers consistently engage in parasocial interaction with characters or watch media repeatedly for a long time, the parasocial interaction might become a parasocial relationship. So parasocial relationships can differ, but some of the common things that researchers identify show that they might start by a first impression, like when you meet someone in real life. So you might interpret them the same way. So you look at their appearance, their body language, their voice and gestures, and suss them out and see what you think of them. But then as the relationship begins to grow through repetition, so like watching a show each week, we become more familiar with the persona or the character. Generally, the more time you spend with someone off screen, the better you get to know them. So it's much the same with characters. Personas and characters who are predictable and consistent are the easiest to get to know, and we kind of start to build a shared history with them and figure out what they're like and what motivates them. Relationships with fictional people, though, are not immune to negative feelings, unfortunately. Our parasocial relationships are contingent on the skills and desires of showrunners, and sometimes things can go wrong. So shows might be cancelled or disrupted, characters might be written badly, our favourite character might be killed or written off, and this can actually lead to parasocial breakup, which is a phenomenon identified by researchers such as Leather and Moye-Geis. Fans might even have to go through the process of grieving a character, even though the loss was fictional. It can feel quite real. But what about digital media? Things have moved on quite considerably since Horton and Wald's first study. Technology such as social media, streaming services, and video games work a little differently from television and radio. Social media and platforms such as YouTube give fans more direct access to creators and allows creators to interact with fans on social media, which blurs the line between parasocial interaction with a character and actual interaction with another person. Some YouTubers, for example, are performers who present their own shows, either explicitly or using a persona, or by creating like an authentic self that feels real to the viewers. Fans of YouTubers can also leave feedback and comments to their idols, who may also respond to them. This interaction is often seen as authentic, it's perceived like that, but it's likely an extension of the persona created by the performer to create a feeling of intimacy to strengthen the fans' bond with them. It's important to realise that when we interact with media figures, it's more likely we're getting to know the persona that they've created rather than their authentic self. These exchanges may feel more reciprocal than interactions with TV characters, but they're still manufactured. No doubt many YouTubers enjoy these exchanges, and it can increase the fun that creators and fans get. But we also need to be aware that such intimacy created with fans can be exploited. There have been several cases of popular YouTubers who have been accused of using their status and their privilege and their relationship with their young fans for profit or even for sexual gratification. So things can get quite dangerous if we're not careful. Finding out about mistakes a creator has made, or finding out that the actor who plays your favorite character has questionable morals in real life, can also lead to parasocial breakup that can be even more difficult than one just over a fictional character. You might see this over Twitter, and with cancel culture, that's a very kind of severe kind of parasocial breakup when things go wrong there. People might even make judgments about who they are in a parasocial relationship personally, and try and reconcile their fantasy of that person with a less desirable reality. So they might judge themselves by their faves' actions, which can be like a really hard thing to do. Parasocial relationships can leave fans vulnerable to disappointment because it's directed towards a manufactured image that we may put on a pedestal rather than a human being who makes mistakes. Though there are risks, though, there are also plenty of benefits. So there's been a recent study by Jasnia who's proposed that technology such as Netflix and social media, paired with the COVID-19 pandemic, has resulted in parasocial interaction serving as social surrogacy, in which PSI is being used as a means to decrease the social deficit and social needs and supplement real relationships by filling social needs and decreasing loneliness. Basically, technology can't fulfill all of our needs, but it can be a buffer and slightly reduce the loss that we feel over needs that are unmet. It may even bolster our resilience and give us the tools to cope with hardship a little better. The previous research on parasocial interaction demonstrates that we can form attachments to characters who aren't even responsive. So imagine the kinds of interactions we can have with characters that can actually answer us back. This brings us to parasocial interaction and video games. So video games provide an experience of parasocial interaction that provides something different to television programs or even people on YouTube. This is being explored by game studies researchers such as Kavli and Hartman, who are investigating how video games may impact people's experiences of this phenomenon. So there are some really different ways that parasocial relationships in video games can work. So just like in TV shows, we can get to know video game characters by what they look and sound like. So they might have a realistic voice or body language or be more abstract and cute like a cartoon. We can also play and replay games, which makes us more familiar with the characters and allows us to get to know them. Unlike in TV shows, players can take part in the narrative and making decisions that shape interactions with the characters, which blurs the line between the on and off-screen reality. So rather than it just appearing as if the audience member's making a difference when you play a game, it feels like you actually can. We may even be able to measure how well we get to know the character or experience how much they appear to like us by reading the dialogue or viewing relationship meters. So there's kind of like a more direct feedback that shows like whether you have done a good thing or haven't, whether you're getting to know them well. There's no way also that we can meet the character off screen, so they can't exploit us or take advantage of our feelings unless it's programmed into the game and part of the narrative. And the characters don't have a life outside of the game and are unlikely to be involved in scandals and disappoint us, though of course their creators may still do things that we object to. So it's great for developers to facilitate parasocial relationships because, as with TV shows, we are far more likely to play narratives and talk about them when we are emotionally invested in them. But what about the benefits for us? Perhaps parasocial relationships can help those of us who are shy, lonely, or socially anxious. Video games can be a safe space where we can practice social interactions. If we hurt a character's feelings or say the wrong thing, we can reload the game. Some of us find it hard to read other people or understand them or how they feel about us so that we can tell when we play a game by the reward systems and the feedback. It's a bit more reassuring. Video game characters also offer us comfort and stability. Unless it's part of the plot, they're not going anywhere. We can go back and hang out with them anytime we like. Playing games that feature these predictable characters can provide comfort during times of stress or uncertainty. And we can also pick different games to play or characters to talk to and interact with depending on our moods and depending on our interest. So researchers stress that parasocial relationships aren't a replacement for the real thing, but they can be a supplement and even provide insight into how we interact with others off screen, which is why it's kind of fun to analyze it. It tells us more about how we interact with each other. So it's time to bring the talk to a close, which is good because I need a sip of tea because my throat is going. Thanks for listening. And we're going to try and go on some spooky dates with some ghosts. Right? Let's go date some ghosts. Hello again. It's nice to see you. I'll just put your name down and you can go right in. The room of black isn't really a room at all. It's more of a garden courtyard. The sun beats down as you squint to see what's growing. Rows upon rows of yellow and brown plants, drying and rotting in the sun. What fruit these plants produced, shriveled on the vine. But there's peace to this place. The crickets are chirping, and well beyond the garden, a train passes. You sit at a table opposite an empty chair. Ooh. The bell rings and a ghost appears. Oh, who dis? Oh, I'm a ghost. Oh. Okay, we're going apparently or ooh. It is. Lol. Wait. Lol. Isn't it great being dead? Is it neat or would rather be alive? Neat, neat, neat. Cool. It is pretty neat. Oh my God, it's ghost me. Being dead is the best way to live. I'm Drea. I'm like dead, obviously. Cool. And yet, okay. Well, yeah, I'm here. Ever tried dating ghosts in the wild? They all just contort and wail, and not in a good way. But now that I am dead, it just feels right. Like maybe it was meant to be, which I guess makes sense, since we all die in junk. There we go. The bell rings. Antler Ghost rang that bell thing. That means we change places. See you in a bit. I like them. They're cool. Another ghost appears. See, like the casual conversation makes you a bit more familiar with them. Oh, how do I do this voice? God. Oh, hello there. I'm Hattie. You'll have to forgive me. I'm a little shy. It's just so nice to get out of the home, to see a new face. The home. Alone. Okay. Oh. No, I had a partner. Milton. He's still alive, actually. A resident at the home. Oh. See, they're a bit of a player. They're hanging out with their ex still. Oh, I guess that's our time. I suppose I'll see you again. When I come back around. Thank you for the talk. Player. I've got to be careful of Hattie. Goodness. The ghost says nothing, only stares. Oh God, what should we do? Do we stare back or am I? Stare, okay, stare back. The ghost's eyes narrow. What should we do? Narrow, narrow, all right. Oh my God, the ghost opens their mouth wide, wider. The sides begin to crack and tear. Inside smells so foul. What's wrong, Gary? The knife. I still feel the blade, the life draining out, emptied, an empty space where there once was something, now cobwebs, a draft. Crap. I'll be sorry or who killed him? Who? Sorry. Okay, let's go first. Sorry then. So sorry, Gary. Do not be sorry. Gary is gone. Oh my God, what are we thinking? Who are we liking best so far? One, Gary. He lifts up his fragile frame and shambles over to the next table. Gaza for life, mate. What is he looking for? Gary is edgy. Gary is. Make a choice soon. Right, who do we want to go for? Do we want to go for? This is going to be tricky. You're going to need someone's help. So I've got Gary, Hattie, Gary. Gary so far. Gary's still winning. You arrive at the bus stop where Gary asked to meet. The last bus went by hours ago. Still, there are other ghosts waiting for something. One natters to herself like a squirrel. Another is on the ground around his knees, rocking back and forth. The third ghost has his back turned, staring silently into the darkness. It's Gary. Gaza. Oh, he's got a little bow tie. Look at that. He is wearing a bow tie. Yes, I wore a bow tie. What a babe. Are we going to tell him he looks nice? Yeah, we got to tell him he looks nice. I wish to look respectable. One must look respectable when meeting one's end, even for the second time. Also, I thought you would like it. Oh, what a gent. Do we love it? Do we love it? We know it. Love it. Nervous. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Gary smiles. Oh, he smiled, mate.